Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Wednesday afternoon. I hope you all are doing really well. I've got a few bits to talk about today. We're going to talk about Newcastle United winger Alan Saint-Maximin and how he has been linked with a potential move to Everton. Linked a couple of times in the summer, not really anything sort of in the links, just, silly sort of newspaper rumours left, right and centre. But there has been a recent link which we're going to have a little look at and going to talk about. We're going to talk about Richarlison. He has sat down and done an interview talking about his Everton future, talking about his affection for Everton and the football club and the fans and the staff and how he loves it here. And we're going to talk a lot about just Everton in general. Obviously, big game coming up at the weekend against Manchester United. Really difficult game away at Old Trafford. The game preview to that game will be up tomorrow, so don't forget to look out for that one. As I said, really difficult game. Obviously coming up against the United side with the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Paul Pogba, Jadon Sancho, Bruno Fernandes, all of those players. I know they lost last week to Aston Villa in a shock defeat at Old Trafford, so they will be looking to bounce back and try and show a reaction to that defeat. I think they play today in the Champions League as well, so it'll be interesting to see how they get on in that game. But it's going to be a really tough game for Everton. Obviously, we saw how this fixture went in our final pre-season game before the new season. It didn't go well for us, did it? Let's be honest. So hopefully we can get a better result. Hopefully we can put in a better performance at Old Trafford on Saturday afternoon. But we'll start the scene by talking about Newcastle United winger Alan Saint-Maximin, won't we? Because, well, as I say, won't we? We will, because there has been a rumour over the last 48 hours or so linking him with a potential move to Everton. The rumour is coming from Calcio Mercato, who I believe are an Italian publication, and it was cited by Sport Witness, and they have said that Everton, AC Milan, Chelsea and Liverpool are all interested in Newcastle United winger Alan Saint-Maximin. So, when you look at the teams mentioned there, when you look at the teams that are interested in him, Everton, you would probably say, fall at the bottom of that list in regards to sides that are interested in the Newcastle United winger. As I said, there were rumours over the summer regarding him and a potential move to Everton, and those rumours were ended abruptly when it was sort of thought that Newcastle United would want an absolutely ridiculous amount of money for Alan Saint-Maximin. We started the season relatively well, scored a goal the other day against Leeds, didn't he, to equalise for Newcastle. Really nice finish, and I don't think there's any doubt in his ability. Alan Saint-Maximin, he's a very good footballer. Obviously he's a right winger / left winger. He can play on the left as well, so he'd be coming in and strengthening in that area. We know how desperately we needed to strengthen in that area this summer. We did so by bringing in Damari Gray and Andros Townsend, and look at how that has paid off for Everton so far. The pair of them have been absolutely electric, and there's, like I said, there's no doubt in his talent, there's no doubt in his ability, there's no doubt in his quality as a footballer. I have got issues with his injury record. I think there's been times when he's picked up some quite serious injuries for Newcastle and it's kept them out. But more sort of worrying for me is the fee that Newcastle United would demand. And to be honest, I understand it. There was a lot of murmurs, a lot of rumours in the summer regarding Alan Saint-Maximin and his future, and there was a lot of sort of different newspapers and publications, etc. Saying that Newcastle had won upwards of 40-50 million pound for him, and there was a little bit of uproar. Oh, he's not worth anywhere near that, this, that, and the other. But you have to look at it from a Newcastle point of view, and ultimately at the end of the day, this is a fella who, when fit, is by far Newcastle United's best player, by far their most creative player, and by far their biggest threat to opposition goals. And Newcastle are a side that don't notoriously spend a lot of money because of their owner, haven't got the greatest manager on the planet in Steve Bruce. I think Steve Bruce is a decent manager, but he's not the greatest on the planet. There's certainly a lot of conflict between the manager and the fans. I think there's a lot of Newcastle United fans that don't want Steve Bruce at the club. I think there's a large majority of Newcastle United fans that don't want Mike Ashley at the club. So this isn't a club that go out and spend a lot of money. This isn't a club that go out and invest heavily. It's a club run by an owner that doesn't really seem that interested in the footballing side of things, only really seems interested in what's in his back pocket and how much money he can make from the club. And when you look at it from that point of view and you think, well, would Newcastle United be, would they accept a bid of 20-25 million pound for Alan Saint-Maximin? I don't think they would, because they understand, and I think the club understands, that this is a lad who could be the difference between them playing Premier League football and playing Championship football. And Newcastle are a side that for the last couple of years now have flirted with the idea of relegation and flirted with the idea of going down, and they've always sort of stayed up in the Premier League because they've got a couple of big results throughout the course of the season, and mostly because there's always been 3 teams that have been, worse than them, and maybe that'll be the case again this season, but that isn't always going to keep them up. There will come a season when, the promoted teams step up, other teams step up and have a decent season, maybe invest in the summer, and Newcastle fall to be that side that just can't compete with everybody else. We saw Aston Villa, of course, just about surviving relegation a couple of years ago. I think they survived on the last day, and then obviously last year they come out and firing and were challenging for European football at one point. This season they've obviously sold Jack Grealish, but they've gone out, they've bought Leon Bailey, they've brought Danny Ings, they've brought Emi Buendia, and they've gone from being a side that very much flirted with the idea of going down to a side that we're now talking about in a conversation for challenging for European football. And that's how quick that it can change at that end of the table. That's how quick that you can go from a team that may be struggling to stay in the Premier League to a side that actually are comfortably in the Premier League and maybe even at the top end of it. And other teams will do that. We've seen Brentford this season. They've obviously come up from the Championship, started really, really well. Obviously Norwich haven't had the greatest of starts. Brighton have started really, really well as well. They were a team that was sort of in and around those areas last season, at times flirting with relegation. They've started brilliantly, had the chance to go top of the league had they have won on Monday night. Obviously picked up a point in the last minute against Crystal Palace. So I feel like Newcastle are a team that sooner rather or later, this lack of spending, this sort of lack of ambition from the owner will come back to bite them. They're not always going to be in a situation where they can look down and think, right, we're alright because there's 3 worse teams than us, so we can just hover and survive without having to do anything. And a player like Alan Saint-Maximin is the type of player that will be the quality that will keep them up, and that will be the difference between them, as I said, playing Championship football and playing Premier League football. Now, do I believe this rumour? Obviously it's coming from Calcio Mercato, who like to link Everton with about 422,000 players throughout the course of a transfer window, and even when the transfer window is shut, as proven now. As I said, there is other sides there that are seemingly interested, the likes of Chelsea, the likes of Liverpool, 2 sides that will, undoubtedly challenge for the Premier League title this season. Will Everton challenge for the Premier League title this season? No. AC Milan, obviously massive side in Italy, massively historical side. So when you look at the teams that seem to be interested in Saint-Maximin, you do feel like Everton are towards the bottom of that list in terms of what we can assume would be his list of choices. And I don't particularly mind that, because like I said, I think Newcastle will hold out for a ridiculous amount of money. I don't particularly think he's worth upwards of £30 million, if I'm being honest with you. I think his quality is very much there, and I think when he performs really, really well. I just don't think you get that consistency from him. As I said, there's worries with his injury record as well. And, like I said, for a player to be worth what Newcastle United would undoubtedly want for him, you would want him to be performing, at his highest every single week in, week out. And the reality is he's a really good player, but I'm yet to see that from Alan Saint-Maximin. But obviously we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see how this one, obviously goes on over the next couple of weeks and months. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think it's a newspaper one of the journalists has woken up one morning, gone, nothing's really happened this week, has it? How can we sort of capture the attention of Premier League football fans? How can we capture the attention of various different clubs? Right, let's link this player from this club that aren't doing really well, but he's clearly the best player, to various clubs, and that'll get clicks. As I said, I just can't see Everton going in and spending that type of money. Obviously, this season we were heavily restricted by financial fair play and by the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules. Now we've got a little bit more leeway with that because of the business we did this summer, only spending 1.5 million, but also being able to get rid of James Rodriguez's £200,000 a week wages. That saves 10 million, 8 to 10 million pounds, something like that. Obviously losing the likes of Moise Kean, who will eventually go on a permanent deal to Juventus, which will bring in a considerable amount of money. There's various players that'll be out of contract next summer as well. That'll save a lot of money. So we'll have a lot more leeway, that's for sure, next summer, and even in the January transfer window coming up. But the fee that Newcastle would demand for Alan Saint-Maximin will pretty much blow that freedom out the window. It would be Alan Saint-Maximin as the one signing that we make, and I don't think Rafa Benitez and Everton are gonna work like that. I think we're more likely to spend, for example, if we were to spend 100 million next summer, which we won't, I would assume we won't, but if we were, I think we would be more likely to spend £20 million on 5 players or £25 million on 4 players than, you know, £100 million on 1 player or £50 million on 2 players. I think we're more likely gonna, you know, bring in 4 players for 20 million than 1 player for 100 million. And I think, given our current financial state, I think Alan Saint-Maximin would be a player who would very much cost everything that we've got. And like I said, I just don't think he's consistent enough. I don't think he's consistent enough. Look, he might turn up and have an absolutely wonderful season this season. As I said, scored a really nice goal against Leeds last week. But if he does turn up and have an absolutely wonderful season this season, then I would assume that there was 3 or 4 sides that are currently above Everton in the league that would be looking at bringing him in to their team. So anyway, we'll wait and see how this one progresses over the next coming weeks and months. But I don't believe the rumour. That's all. I really don't believe the rumour. And B, if you were to say, Cam, Alan Saint-Maximin, £20 million, would you take him? I'd snatch your hand off for him, because I think he's got the potential to be an absolutely top-class player. I think he's clearly got the quality. He's shown it. It's just about getting that consistency with him and keeping him fit. But I don't think Newcastle would settle for anywhere near that. I think they'd be looking for the 40, 50 million plus range for him. And I just personally don't think he's worth that at the moment. Let us know your thoughts in the live comments. If you are watching live, if you're watching as a YouTube video, let us know your thoughts in the YouTube comments down below. If you're enjoying, by the way, hit that big thumbs up button. It literally only takes a second, and it means a massive amount to me. Some people think that hitting a like doesn't really mean anything because it's just hitting a button on a video. It really does mean a massive amount to me. And if you're new to the channel, by the way, please subscribe. We're nearly at 4,950 subscribers. Now, the aim is to get to 5,000 by Christmas, so if you could hit that subscribe button, that would be absolutely brilliant. Let's get into some of the live comments then before we move on to talking about our Brazilian wonder boy Richarlison. Alan says, yes, Cam, yes, Aaron, hope you're doing well. C-Play says, going to be a sad day when Richie leaves. It is. It certainly is. We're going to talk about Richarlison in a moment. Jason says, hi, Cam and everybody. Hi, my mate. Jason also says Saint-Maximin. Jake says, all right, Cam. All right, Jake. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Jason says, Saint-Maximin will be a good signing, but wherever he goes is surely for next summer. Newcastle will be mad to let him go in January. Yeah, I don't think Newcastle would let him go in January, to be honest with you. As I said, I don't think Newcastle have had a particularly awful start to the season. Results-wise, might tell me different. Let me just get up the Premier League table, because I want to know exactly where they are in the table. But again, performance-wise, certainly, I don't think they've had a particularly awful start to the season. There's currently trending at the moment is Newcastle United takeover, so that's interesting. We're not going to get into that, of course, because we're not a Newcastle United fan channel. But let's have a look at the Premier League table currently. So Newcastle currently sit in 17th position. They've drawn 3 games and they've lost 3 games out of the 6 games played, so 3 points in those games. As I said, drew more recently to Leeds with a 1-1 draw, drew with Watford last weekend, 1-1, again away from home. Obviously lost to Manchester United, drew with Southampton before that, and they had a pretty poor start to the season, didn't they? Losing to West Ham on the opening day 4-2, and then losing to Aston Villa the day after. But as I said, performance-wise, every time I've watched Newcastle this season, they've, again, other than that game against Manchester United, where Man United sort of just opened the floodgates and ran riot, they've looked okay. They've battled, they've fought, they've kept themselves in the game, they've created chances, they've been unlucky at times to not win games and kill games off. They've put up a solid, ultimately a solid account of themselves, and again, if they can continue that, I think they'll be okay. I do think they'll be okay. It's just about whether or not they can continue that. That's the thing for Newcastle, and obviously they've got to start winning games of football. I said this about Norwich on Saturday. Norwich, every game they go into now, they'll know they've got to win. Nothing less than 3 points is acceptable at this point. I'm sure they'd take draws against certain teams, but they've got to start winning games, certainly if they're looking at staying in the Premier League long term. And I think, to be honest, Newcastle will be the same. I think Newcastle will be looking at it now thinking, right, we've got a couple of draws, we've lost a few games, but we've got to start winning games now. We've got to start going out there and picking up 3 points, because ultimately, drawing 3 and losing 3 isn't a great start to the season. But like I said, performance-wise, I think they've looked okay. Obviously they beat Everton at Goodison last season, which was highly disappointing. But again, it'll be really, really interesting to see what they do with Saint-Maximin. I don't think they'll let him go in January, but I do think if they get a relatively big bid in the summer, I think he'll move on. Eugene says Anders Townsend reveals Sam Allardyce awakening. Interesting. Jake Thompson says, personally not interested in Alan Saint-Maximin. A lot of money for someone with little end product. Would rather we got Diaz. I'd rather we got Diaz as well, to be honest with you, mate. But at this moment, it looks like Diaz has had an absolutely unbelievable start to the season at Porto. There's rumours floating about Portuguese media that they are looking for an, I quote, gargantuan amount of money for him. And it seems like the Diaz situation will be another one of those where within 2-3 years we're watching him play for Chelsea or Man City or Juventus, and we're sitting here going, remember that time that he desperately wanted to come to Everton but we never had any money because we'd wasted a lot of money on crap for the last 5-6 years. I fear that we're going to be in another one of those situations. But he has, according to obviously Barton last night, where they played some side, can't remember who they played, but they played some side anyway and lost. But he supposedly he's had a really good start to the season. Chenlar says, hiya Cam, freshness is killing me. Don't know how I haven't had my stomach pumped. I've had about 8 hours sleep the past 5 days. That's what student life is about, mate. I couldn't do it. I couldn't hack it. But that's what the student life is about. Anyway, keep yourself safe, Chenlar. Don't be doing anything I wouldn't do. Gavin is saying Carlo is a flying fraud. Sheriff, yes, Real Madrid losing last night to Sheriff in the Champions League. What an interesting result that was for Carlo. Again, it's dead easy when you just say to your players, just play, isn't it? I'm sure the Sheriff manager said to his players before they went out, just play. It's only Real Madrid, just go out and play. Jason says, yeah, it was funny seeing Carlo lose last night. Eugene says, Everton started the quarter, explains productive in form. Stephen says, Saint-Maximin, only if the price is right, doesn't do enough. Yeah, I'd agree. We should target Rafinha from Leeds. Rafinha would be an unbelievable signing, unbelievable. But again, I don't think Leeds would want to. I think Leeds would want a ridiculous amount of money for him. I'm fair enough, to be honest, because he is to them what Richarlison is to us, effectively, or Dominic Calvert-Lewin is to us. So we're not going to sit here and say, yeah, we'll let Dom go to Man United for 20 million, or we'll let Richarlison go to PSG for 30 million. We're wanting 80, 90, 100 million, and that's what these teams will want. Maybe not as much, but they'll want a lot of money. Bongo Cooley says we can't afford them. At the moment, certainly this summer we couldn't have afforded them. We'll wait and see how obviously the FFP and profit and sustainability rules sort of again work maybe in our favour a little bit next summer, because obviously of losing James Rodriguez and Moise Keane and various other players that'll leave the club in the summer because of their contract running out. So hopefully we'll have a little bit more money to spend. Obviously we don't know what's going to happen with the likes of Richarlison as well, who we'll go on to talk about in a second. He did work with Rafa, says Jason. John says, did Rafa work with him before? Can't see him as a Rafa type of player. And John also says Carlo back to manage Newcastle next season. It's nailed on. Imagine it. Anyway, if you're enjoying, by the way, hit that thumbs up button. It only takes a second. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Let's get into the next topic of the day then. Just to round up the Alan Saint-Maximin stuff. Personally, for me, I think he's a good player. I think he's a player who has certainly got a lot of potential, but for me, it's just not consistent enough. And for the money that Newcastle United would want, I think it would be a massive, massive, massive risk for Everton. I really, really do. And anyway, I don't think there's anything in the rumour for a start. I think it's a nonsense transfer rumour. Stephen said you going to the Toffee TV page tonight. I will be going, my mate. I will be going to the Toffee TV patron night. So you'll be if you're going, you'll be there. I'll be there. C-Play says, Cam, are you going to the game at Goodison against Spurs? If so, where are you sitting? I will be there, mate. I'll be sitting in the Park End in my usual season ticket seat. So look out for me. Anyway, Richarlison has been talking about his Everton future. I know that sentence might scare a lot of people. I know that sentence might make a lot of people think, hang on, what's going on? But it was actually a really nice interview and a really sort of heartwarming sort of couple of quotes to read from Richarlison. He has said that I'm always very careful when I talk about it, meaning his Everton future. I have great affection for the people of Everton and for the club who received me so well from the first day I arrived. He then said, I don't know what the future holds. If one day I have to go, it must be good for me, but also for the club. But if I stay, I'll continue giving my life for this shirt and for the fans who have always supported me and were with me at all times. He then said, I have enormous gratitude and feel at home when I'm at Finch Farm and or Goodison Park. And that was from an article in the Australian newspaper Ole, again cited by Sport Witness. So just to go over that, he said, I am always very careful when I talk about it, again meaning his future. I have a great affection for the people of Everton and for the club who received me so well from the first day I arrived. I don't know what the future holds. If one day I have to go, it must be good for me, but also for the club. But if I stay, I'll continue giving my life for this shirt and for the fans who have always supported me and were with me at all times. He then said, I have enormous gratitude and feel at home when I'm at Finch Farm or Goodison Park. He then went out to put a tweet out, bear with me 2 seconds, which said, Por ache su amado. I hope I haven't completely butchered that, but when you translate that from Portuguese, it is a picture of him celebrating a goal at Goodison Park, and the caption is, around here, I am loved. So, again, really, really heartwarming to hear Richarlison come out and say these things. And no, some people might say he's just setting up for, you know, ultimately moving on, and he's trying to sweeten the situation, or he's trying to sugarcoat it, whatever. Look, we know, I don't think there's one Evertonian that's in any doubt that Richarlison's time at the football club could be coming to an end. I will confidently say, in my opinion, that if we don't finish in Europe this season, and I'd even say if we don't finish in the Europa League, so obviously not including the Conference League, maybe I'd be wrong, but personally for me, I feel like if Everton fail to qualify for the Europa League this season, which is a massive possibility. We haven't spent a lot of money in the summer. We've already seen over the last couple of weeks how detrimental a couple of injuries has, how detrimental, you know, having a couple of injuries has to the side and the results, and obviously players coming in that clearly aren't fit and having to play 2-3 games within a week when they clearly aren't, you know, able to do it because of fitness, etc. Players having to play out of position. So it's very possible that Everton don't finish in a Europa League position at the end of the season, and for me personally, I just feel like if we don't, I think Richarlison will leave next summer. And you know what, to be honest with you, I wouldn't have any ill feeling towards him for doing that. He has stayed at the football club now for 3-4 years. I don't think there's any question about his ability. I think this is a player who should be playing Champions League football. Forget Europa League, forget Conference League, forget mid-table. This is a lad who deserves to be playing Champions League football. He's playing consistently for his national side in Brazil. He's just won an Olympic gold medal. He got to a Copa America final. He's won the Copa America previously with Brazil, all by the time he's 23, 24 years of age. This is, for me, a player. Richarlison is a player who should be playing Champions League football and deserves to be playing Champions League football. He said to Carlo Ancelotti, during Carlo Ancelotti's first full season, that he will give another season to the football club, and he's happy to commit to another season. We obviously was under the thought and the hope that we would be playing in European football and he wouldn't have to leave because he'd be playing in Europe with Everton. We didn't end up finishing in a European position. We ended up finishing 10th. He then obviously spoke to Rafa Benitez at the start of this season. Rafa Benitez and the club seemingly made him a bit of a gentleman's agreement, if you like, which was, we'll allow you to go to the Olympics and play in the Olympics, therefore missing an entirety of pre-season, and when you come back, you give us something, we give you something, which is the allowing them the permission to go to the Olympics, and you give us something which is another season at the football club, effectively, and give us another year, and then we'll discuss your future next summer. Obviously, Richarlison come back from the Olympics, could have said, do you know what, I want 2 weeks off, I want 3 weeks off, I've just played, to put it into perspective, Richarlison ended last season, I think the week after the game against Manchester City, which was the final game of the season, he went away with Brazil to play in the Copa America. He then played an entire Copa America tournament, got to the final, lost in the final, then flew straight over to the Olympics, played in the entirety of the Olympics, won an Olympic gold medal, landed back in Merseyside on the Thursday or something and played on the Saturday against Southampton in the opening game of the season. Now, once he landed back in Merseyside on the Thursday, he could have said, "Do you know what? I've not had a rest here. I've played in the Copa America. I've played in the Olympics. I've just finished the season before. I want a week. I want 2 weeks. I want 3 weeks to just chill, recuperate." And do you know what? He probably should have done that. To be fair, for his fitness and for his his recovery, he probably should have done that. And I'm sure he was advised by the club to do that, but he didn't. He said, "No, I want to be starting against Southampton on Saturday. I want to be right back in that starting 11, playing in front of those fans at Goodison Park." He was straight in the starting 11 and he scored a really important goal in that game. He then didn't miss a game until he picked up a knock, which he probably picked up a knock because he hadn't had a rest. I absolutely love Richarlison. I do. I just don't think there's any way you can criticise or have a bad word to say about his work rate or his passion or his want to play for this football club. There's a lot of players around football, and we've got a few of them at Everton Football Club ourselves who aren't interested about playing for Everton, who would rather sit on the bench and pick up a nice tidy wage, or sit on the physio table and pick up a nice tidy wage, and they don't care about going out there and playing. They don't care about going out there and giving it 110%. They don't care about going out there and scoring goals or making goals or fighting for the badge or fighting for the side or performing for us fans. They don't care about it. They just care about the 60, 70 grand a week that they're picking up, and as long as they're picking up that wage, that they're alright. And some that'll even go out the way to make sure they don't have to play but still pick up the wage. Richarlison is the complete opposite of that type of player. He landed back in the country and 4 days later he said, "I want to be starting that Premier League game." He started and he scored, and look at what it meant to him. Look at his celebrations. So if Richarlison turned round to Everton next summer, let's say for argument's sake Everton finished 9th this season, it's a alright season given the circumstance. We've got a lot more freedom next summer in regards to spending money, but we finish 9th and Richarlison comes to Rafa Benitez, and we're all aware of this conversation, and says, "Listen, I've 2 years ago I said I'd give you another season, on the promise that we'd finish in Europe under Carlo Ancelotti. We didn't. Last season I said, you know what, I'll fight, I'll give another season on the promise that we finish in Europe. We didn't. This might be me one of my only opportunities to go and play for the PSG or the Real Madrid or wherever I want to go and play over there. Not Real Madrid, hopefully, because that'd be Carlo Ancelotti, but a PSG or somebody else. I want me move." I would have no problem with that conversation being had, and I would have no problem with Richarlison leaving the football club. As he says there, it's got to be a deal that's right for Everton, and it's got to be a deal that's right for him. So if PSG come in with the old Moise Keane antics and say, "Yeah, we want Richarlison, we'll give you £3.50 and a wisp of gold," I'd say, again, put the phone down. There's a little bowl of sweets at the side of the the table there. On your way out, don't forget to shut the door. Don't slam it, just shut it, and you can pick up a few sweets on your way out. But if PSG come in and say, "We want 80, 90, £100 million to sell him," and he wants to leave, how could we have a bad word to say about a lad who has clearly given 110% since the moment he walked into this football club? Speaks so, lovingly about the football club. Some people say, he walks off the pitch with a strop though, and he gets his head down. Yeah, he left the field against Burnley with his head in his hands a little bit, but that's probably because we scored 4 goals in 6 minutes, and he was probably looking, thinking, "I can get an hat-trick here," and he was taken off. Now, obviously, as it ends up, he was injured anyway. So not only did he go off the pitch wanting to stay on, he wanted to stay on and play through an injury. I just think his commitment, I just think his passion, I just think his fight, and I just think his mentality of always giving 110% until the day that he leaves the football club is something that is rare in football. It is rare, and yet we can all sit here and say, as John says, Cam, those qualities are expected. He has poor stats over the year for goals and assists, or what counts. He doesn't have poor stats though. He was still our 3rd highest goal scorer or 2nd highest goal scorer last season, and he had a poor season. Without Richarlison, I'm not convinced that Everton would be playing Premier League football, to be honest with you. That first season under Marco Silva, Dominic Calvert-Lewin wasn't the Dominic Calvert-Lewin that he is today. We didn't have James Rodriguez. We didn't have, Andros Townsend or Damari Gray. Richarlison done a lot of the scoring. The second season, the season that started with Marco Silva and Carlo Ancelotti took over, yes, Dominic Calvert-Lewin come into his own towards the second half of that season, but Richarlison, again, was very much at the helm of scoring goals for Everton, scoring important goals for Everton. This is a lad who scored in the Merseyside derby at Anfield in our first win against Liverpool in 22 years at Anfield. First win in a decade against them in any ground. I think statistically, yes, he didn't have as great as the seasons last season, but he was still up there in our top 2-3 best, highest goal scorers and players in regards to chances created. I think that the first 2 seasons he was at the football club, he was absolutely excellent, best player of the season. I think, like I said, last season he wasn't great, but he still gave it 110%. He still worked hard, he still battled. And this season, he started the game of football after only landing back in the country for 4 days. He scored. Yes, he hasn't scored since. Okay, I understand that, but he's been out injured. I fully expect Richarlison to get his head down, work hard, and have a great season this season, because he knows that if he doesn't, he's got no chance of moving on in the summer, regardless of where Everton finish. Whereas he does, teams will be in and around for him. So, listen, it's horrible to think about. It is horrible to think about, and for me, there will come a day where we're having to say goodbye to Richarlison, and it will probably have a very similar feeling as to when we had to say goodbye to Idrissa Gana Gueye. Tweeted it out yesterday. Idrissa Gana Gueye scored an absolute worldie against Manchester City in the Champions League. I've never liked an ex-Everton player as much as I like Idrissa Gana Gueye. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I hope they win the Champions League for him. I think he's great. I think he, again, similar to Richarlison, give 110% every single time he put an Everton shirt on. And when he didn't get his move in that January, when he didn't get what he wanted, he didn't drop his head, he didn't spit his dummy, he didn't think, oh, I don't want to be here anymore, so I'm not going to perform. He got his head down, he worked hard, he performed even better in that last 3 or 4 months of the season, and then he got his move in the summer. And I've got no issue with that. I fully understand that players move on. I fully understand that, a player will never stay at a football club forever. There'll never be a situation where a player is at a football club all of their career. Very rarely, anyway. Very rarely. So I get that players move on. I get that players come and go. But it's the way they do it. It's their attitude throughout it. It's their professionalism. It's the way they go about what they say and what they do. And I think Idrissa Gana Gueye was a perfect example of how to do it. And I think Richarlison is very, very similar at the moment anyway. Hopefully nothing changes. But I think it was a really nice interview. He doesn't come out and say, do what, ex-Everton, some previous Everton players have done, and say, well, I'm the big I am, so I'm going to be need to play in Champions League football at some point. He didn't. He come out and said, listen, I'm very careful about what I say because I love the football club. I've got a lot of affection for the football club. If I do leave, it has to be the right deal for the club as well as me, and I feel at home when I'm here. I just think he's absolutely brilliant. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I really, really do. And I also think he's a top player as well. Hopefully he's fit for Saturday's game against Manchester United, which will be a difficult game. So hopefully he is fit for that one. And hopefully he can get on the scoreline as well. Because we need him. Ultimately, we need him at the moment. Let's get into the live comments then. Big thanks to everybody for watching live. If you are enjoying, please hit that like button. It does only take a second, and if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Eugene says Nunes on summer incest. Interesting. Cal says Sarr from Watford is doable. I'd love Ismail Sarr from Watford. I think he's absolutely brilliant. But if we brought Ismail Sarr in from Watford, we'd have to bring in Ben Foster. So every time Sarr scored, we could hear, Ismail, you beauty. We'd just have to do that. It'd be like a package deal. We'd have to bring in Ben Foster for the vlogs and for Ismail, you beauty every time he scored. But no, on a serious note, Ismail Sarr would be absolutely unbelievable. I think he's a great player. John says, where do you think Gomez and Iwobi's best positions are, Cam? I think Iwobi is probably a number 10. I think Gomez is probably just a central midfielder, but ideally nowhere near Everton starting 11. Stephen says, Iwobi on the bench. He's not a striker, says John. Who's not a striker? Iwobi's not a striker, no. He's a number 10 / winger. Martin says, I was waiting for someone to say that about Alex. I think he could play Cam. He has got the skills and can dribble like mad. He prefers to play Cam. That, he's come out openly before and said his preferred position is a centre attacker midfielder and number 10 if you like. So interesting. Martin says, it looks like Gomez of old is back. That terrible injury he has given any man. Rafa will get the best out of both of them. He's had an okay start to the season, Andre Gomez. I still think he was dreadful against QPR. I think that was a big opportunity for Andre Gomez to turn up, put in a really good performance, and almost say to Rafa Benitez, look, you haven't only got Alan and Abdoulaye Doucouré, I can play in Premier League games, I can be trusted. Whereas that performance against QPR would have pretty much said to Rafa Benitez, right, okay, I've got Alan and Decore, and then I've got Andre Gomez, who isn't going to challenge these two because he's nowhere near the level. I was really disappointed with his performance against QPR. He played there versus Villa and QPR and done crap. I was again equally. I was quite disappointed with Iwobi's performance against QPR as well. John says Alex is an attacking wide mid, but we don't play 4-3-3. His other position is a number 10, but he can score 10 and assist 10 per season. But can he? I don't think he can at the moment. I don't think he can. John says, hope no, Martin, but I don't know where they can play. Where do you think? Stephen says, hopefully Richarlison is fit for Saturday. Let's hope so. Martin says, it's sticky, John. As you say, 4-3-3 would be nice. Their positions and or coming off the bench would depend on the opposition. And if they fight for their place in the starting 11. Kit Kat Chunky would seal it for me, says John. No, not a chance, mate. He's amazing, Richarlison. I love him. John says, think Rafa can help Iwobi, but they both have 3 years left and need to be used well and sold. Our midfield backup is poor. Gabam and Delph not fit. Iwobi and Gomez can't cover for Decore or Alam. Choose Gray or Richarlison for me. I choose Gray, says John. No, why not have both? Damari Gray's had an excellent start to the season, and I love Damari Gray, I do. But let's not forget the 4 years Richarlison has given us. He's been excellent for 80%, 90% of those 4 years. Well, 3 years, and obviously this is his fourth. John says there should be 3 clubs in the UK. Everton players should leave for City, United or Chelsea. There should only be 3 clubs in the UK. Okay, I understand it. Martin says, I agree with everything you say from the chunky kick-outs on. I'd love to see Graders, DCL, Richie and Andros all on for us. Alan and Dukes too, Dogs of War. Yeah, that would be the starting 11, wouldn't it? That is the starting 11 when everybody is fit. B-Wood says, Richie's work rate and quality will be hard to replace. He's given everything for the club when wearing the blue shirt. Another player I always want the best for in the future. Yeah, I'd agree. Gene says, what are your thoughts on Scottish fullbacks Ramsey and Patterson from Aberdeen and Rangers respectively? I like Patterson. Obviously, we were linked heavily with a move for him in the summer. That didn't end up coming to fruition. I like him. I think he's a decent player. Is he good enough to play in the Premier League? I don't know, and it's the same with Ramsey. Eugene says Kenny needs to leave. Yeah, he does need to leave. And B-Wood says, for Everton to move forward and comply with FFP to improve the squad, one big player will unfortunately have to leave. That is the gut feeling, isn't it? That is the gut feeling. And look, if it's Richarlison, then hopefully we get an absolute load of money for him. And as he said, hopefully it's the right deal for both parties. But I love Richarlison. I just think he's boss. I think he's absolutely boss. I never want him to leave. I'm fully aware that he will leave at some point, but I never want him to leave because I think he's absolutely brilliant. Anyway, before we finish up then, if you're enjoying, please hit that big thumbs up button. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Let's talk a little bit about the game on Saturday then. We will be back with the live game preview tomorrow morning, so don't forget to look out for that one ahead of Everton's fixture against Manchester United. Yeah, difficult game of football, of course. As I said, Man United play tonight in the Champions League, I believe. So it'll be really, really interesting to see how they get on in that game, how they perform, how they bounce back. It's probably ideal for Everton, to be fair, that they play today, because not only do they have a lot less rest than we do, but also, as mentioned, if they're going to show a reaction to that defeat to Aston Villa, it will be tonight. Obviously, because like I said, it's the next game. It would have been not more difficult per se, but obviously coming into a game against Manchester United after they've just lost, they're a lot likely to respond, and hopefully that's today. And if they do respond massively, it's today, and then we've got a United side that aren't as vicious on Saturday. But look, they're a fantastic side. They've got some absolutely wonderful players, and it will be a massively, massively difficult game for Everton. I'm under the assumption we'll still be without Dominic Calvert-Lewin. We don't know whether Seamus Coleman and Richarlison will be back for that game. I'm sure we'll find out on Friday when Rafa Benitez talks to the media. But it will be a really, really difficult game, and hopefully Everton can just come away with something. Whether it be a point, maybe 3 points would be amazing, but hopefully we can just come away with something. We saw how comfortable it was for Manchester United in that final pre-season game at Old Trafford. Hopefully it's not the same on Saturday, and yeah, we can come away with like I said, a point. That would be a really, really good result for me. John says we have a great first 11 and an average backup 11. Ian says here Cam regarding Richarlison. John says good evening, as Unai Emery would say, take care lads and girls, thank you very much. And Eugene says the Everton away game against Man United at Old Trafford is the last Premier League game before the international break. It certainly is, so we can go into the international break on the back of a decent result and decent performance. Then that would be absolutely perfect, wouldn't it? Anyway, we're going to finish it up there. Then if you have enjoyed this stream, please do hit that like button if you're watching the live comments. Massive thank you to everybody for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you're watching the YouTube video, get your thoughts in the comment section down below, and we will get involved with as many of them as possible. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. That does only take a second and means a massive amount to me. The latest episode of the Park End podcast is up now. We haven't done an episode for absolutely ages, so me and Corney sat down and done an episode talking about his time as an Evertonian, his story as an Evertonian. We also talked about Carlo Ancelotti, Rafael Benitez, James Rodriguez. I do just want to say before you go and watch it, it was recorded before the game against Aston Villa, so we talk about the game against Aston Villa and we talk about James Rodriguez as well, who obviously has since left the football club. So if you're watching it thinking, why are they talking about if James Rodriguez can perform this season, it's because it was pre-recorded. So apologies for that one, but the majority of the conversation is still sort of relevant and makes sense. So if you could check that out, that is episode 7 of the Park End podcast. It is currently up on the channel now. But anyway, until tomorrow, massive thank you for watching. C-Play says, Cam, did you see the club's video of them all getting photos? Do you think that is a hint? No, it's just the club photo shoot that every club has to do for the Premier League and for various different marketing reasons. I don't know what it would be a hint to, but no, it's just a club photo shoot, mate. I believe anyway. I believe. Uden says, see about the toffees. Thank you very much. And last, the Corinthians puts a thumbs up. Big thank you to everybody for watching. If you've enjoyed it, leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow with the game preview ahead of our fixture against Manchester United. Big thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues. Oh, that's not the outro. There you go. Little bit of a sneak peek of the Park End podcast. Cheers for watching. See you after.